Is India the key to the future of K-pop? We're asking this question because we've noticed that there have been several talented individuals of Indian heritage that have been appearing on the scene of the K-pop landscape, most notably Sriya from Blackswan. And we have asked somebody to be a guest on our show, right? Who's that, Donna?
Dr. Paroma Ghose.
Hi.
So how did you know Paroma, Donna?
Oh, well, I met her at a K-pop symposium at the University of Buffalo.
I was watching the symposium on Zoom and I was fascinated by your paper about the globalization of K-pop. And I was like, the whole time I was watching, I was like, oh my God, she's talking about all the same stuff that I've been thinking about for the past year. And I was literally texting Donna in the middle of your paper saying, oh my God, this is so incredible. So we also have been aware of the fact that Dream Academy just announced their 6 finalists, and one of the finalists, Lara, is of Indian descent, and she's an American like Donna and me. And we feel like there's something happening here, right, Donna?
Yes, definitely.
And we're asking, why is this happening, right? Are we witnessing the rise of the Indian K-pop idol? Let's start off by talking a little bit about Sriya and Blackswan, because I noticed in your paper, Paroma, that you mentioned them.
I did. I mentioned them because, when I was in India, this was a couple of months ago, the last time I was home. And there was a lot of media attention around Sriya because people were mistakenly, as it turns out, talking about her as the first Indian K-pop idol. Of course, there have been others, but I think she's the one who kind of left a sort of big impression, and both within India and outside of it, and in Korea, obviously. So I sort of followed her a little bit before she kind of debuted and then got interested in how her journey was going.
Right, Donna. So Paroma just mentioned that she wasn't the first, and we did a little research. And tell the audience a little bit about who came before Sriya.
What I came up with is that there was a group called the Z Pop Dream Project, and there was a girl division and a boy division, so Z girls and Z boys. And actually, they both had Indian members. So there was, in the boy group, there was Sid or Siddhant Aurora, and then in the girl group, there was Priyanka.
It's kind of like a question whether or not they are K-pop idols. Like, we could maybe consider them precursors to the Indian K-pop idol.
I think they were Singapore based, but their companies were it was an interesting multinational mix. So, but they weren't based in Korea.
And they're multi-ethnic, right?
Yes.
And they're not produced by a Korean company, and they don't sing in Korean, right?
Right.
But as far as the aesthetics go, the style, the music, the dance, the choreography, it's clear that they were following the K-pop model.
Yes.
Right. So, Paroma, tell us.
had another one.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about some of the precursors to Sriya that you are aware of.
Well, I'm not sure that they're entirely precursors because I think they might have been sort of simultaneous to the Z boys and Z girls. Because I think in 2020 there was a group actually, it's similar to 91 in Kazakhstan or SB19 in the Philippines, like that was launched in India as an Indian K-pop group. So they were trying to sort of market that same style of group to India, so with only Indian members.
Only Indian members?
Only Indian members,
Oh, so that Kazakhstani group has all Indian, and it was produced by a Kazakhstani company in Kazakhstan?
No, sorry, this is the Indian equivalent of what was also being done in Kazakhstan.
Oh, what was the name of the group? You might...
It was called Five High. I don't know how long they kind of lasted, but then they were disbanded, I think, pretty quickly. Probably, maybe because of COVID.
And Donna, we recently took a little mini dive into who?
EXIN.
Yes. Shall we play a little clip from this group? Because honestly, just last night, as we were doing our preparations for the show, we were like listening to their music, and we had to say to ourselves, why do we like this? Because if we're being honest, I was enjoying it. But I would really like to hear some of Paroma's reactions to it. Because Paroma, do you know who we're talking about?
I know who you're talking about. I don't think I've seen or heard much of their music because I was trying to sort of learn more about them before diving into the music. But why did you think you wouldn't like their music? Can I ask?
Oh God, can we just play a little bit first? And then
Okay.
let's do a little sampling of XN's music, because they have three songs,
Yes.
two of which just came out 2 months ago, and I don't know how I just missed them, because I watch like the Kville Top 100 religiously, and usually I'm aware of like just about everything out there, and this should have caught my eye. So what are you starting with, Donna?
I'm starting with Keeping the Fire, which I believe was their debut.
You want to start with Keeping the Fire. All right, here we go.
Okay, here we go.
Keeping the fire. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Keeping the fire.
All right, so what's next?
This one is Synchronize,
Synchronize.
which is more recent.
I like the newer stuff better.
Okay, here we go.
Accent. Sing, sing, sing.
What's this tune in the beginning?
Right?
Familiar.
Sing, sing, sing.
Ooh.
There's the head thing.
Nobody do it. Can't nobody explain to me.
And what are we going to hear last? Because this is like...
This one is Cat and Tiger.
going hard right away.
Again, that backing track though, there's a theme there.
All right, so we've given everybody a chance to take a look at this if they're not already familiar with XN, which, like as I said, Donna and I only recently came to know of them, and we were talking privately among ourselves. And what did we say, Donna? What were some of your thoughts, real quick?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Oh, okay. Well, definitely they're making use of, what we consider like a trope in K-pop, which is to use like a Phrygian mode, which is very kind of quote unquote, exotic.
Paroma, are you familiar
sounding.
with that?
No, please enlighten me.
In traditional like Middle Eastern, Indian,
Okay.
Slavic music, Donna, and you said like Jewish music and
Yeah, klezmer.
and klezmer. You hear the unmistakable, tried and true, now developed into like a hallmark of the K-pop sound. This quote unquote exoticized sound from like the Middle East / that region of the world. Paroma, did you notice that kind of vibe, even though you weren't maybe aware of the specific musical reason or notes behind it? Did that strike you? And
I think that probably caught my ear in the first moments of the second video when I was saying, "Oh, what's that sound?" Because it's possible that in Bollywood, which is actually what first came to my head, but not recent Bollywood, maybe slightly older Bollywood, that I was suddenly drawn. It just sort of popped into my head, and without knowing the terminology, that could have been why.
maybe it's because that's why this works in K-pop. It just has worked so well. It's become a thing. It's what we know. And if it's done well, it's done well. And we just like consuming that. But I want to ask you, from your perspective of somebody who has your ethnic descent comes from that region, right? Do you feel your sensibilities, like, how does it occur to you? Because I know that, like, there are times when I've been growing up in my life that if I see certain stereotypes of Asians, it might rub me the wrong way, or I might feel a little bit, offended. I don't know
we
if
have the equivalent of like an Oriental trope for us, which goes,
Ding,
dun
ding,
dun
ding,
dun
ding,
dun 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 dun. Yeah.
gong.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
Exactly. And then the people are walking like, like this, and it's just like, it's like, come on guys, really? Why?
Yeah, even in Disney's Lady and the Tramp, right? Like those. There was
yeah,
that
the
horrible,
Siamese
cats. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Disney has like kind of like a nonstop parade of these kind of
Yes.
things happening in their their films. Obviously nowadays they do a lot to like change that
They
their
try,
cultural.
but then of course there's Snow White and everything seems to fall apart.
Yeah, exactly. But at least they're trying. Please speak
Yeah.
as to some of your thoughts regarding that.
Well, I was just thinking, so yeah, because I'm Indian, Swiss, and British in no particular order, but I grew up in all three of those countries, and so I feel like I'm constantly being exposed in a sensory way to different reminders of each place, depending on what I hear. And sometimes I can't identify exactly what that feeling is, but in certain cases, especially when it comes to India, because there's a lot of stereotypes, as you said, that could be linked to musical tropes or even, representations, cultural representations. I think I'm especially sensitive. But I think, at least just off the top of my head with the videos we've just seen, I feel like in this case, maybe the reason we don't feel like it's necessarily something that's so completely new is because I think they are very much going for that sort of Blackpink vibe, and it's not really about where the members are from or like the configuration of the group. Whereas if I look at Karma by Blackswan, I think what really stood out to me, because I'm not a musician, so I think you two can speak much more to what it actually sounds like, but I thought visually what was super interesting is that they actually went to Orissa, which is where Shriya's from, and they filmed a video there, and later they actually made another song which was aimed at sort of bringing in money and donations for the Orissa train crash, which is one of the worst train crashes in India's
Yeah.
history in recent
Yes.
times.
And
And so there's
they
a very
compose a song for that too.
yeah, exactly. And so it feels like a very genuine reach out to India rather than a sort of exoticization, which I think is often what happens. And I think Shreya has a lot to do with it, but I'm kind of impressed that the label also went with it, right? Because there's 4 members from 4 different places. Actually, Fatou is Belgian and Senegalese. But somehow right now the focus seems to be on sort of bringing India into the narrative. So I'm kind of curious. I don't really know why. Well, I guess there's a huge market, but I don't know why else they might have done that.
Right. I agree 100% with everything you just said. And that was what attracted us to reacting to Black Swan, as well as the fact that the music was just good and the video was like very compelling and it was just so well done. But it was that unique quality of the fact that there was this absence of appropriation. There was like a complete and total feeling of like a reclaiming of one's cultural heritage and celebrating it. So it for me, it marked a transformation for the trajectory of the K-pop industry. And part of why we are also doing this whole video is not just to kind of like look into the past and see what has happened up until now, but also like see how things are shifting and how the landscape is changing and where it's going. And like I said earlier on, with Lara being selected as one of the members of Dream Academy, and I'm guessing most people already know, but Dream Academy is being produced by Hybe and Geffen, and there's already a huge amount of anticipation behind this global girl group that they had been talking about this well before the Dream Academy show appeared on YouTube. And there was 20 contestants. I was just talking to Donna last week about how, oh, Donna, check it out, it's like 10 contestants left, 2 of which are of Indian descent. And then I said the likelihood that one or both are going to be on the top in the final group is so high. And sure enough, just before we scheduled our show today, one got selected. Do you have thoughts? Have you been thinking about this?
I'm curious to see what happens because Lara's of Indian descent, and I'm just wondering if she's going to tap more into the American audience, or if she's going to also sort of bridge that gap between the US and India, and sort of speak to part of what Shreya's kind of begun.
I think what's interesting that's very different between Black Swan and probably what's going to happen with Dream Academy and Katseye is that I think in Black Swan, they have this kind of this pressure in a way to prove their Koreanness, as K-pop idols, whereas I think Dream Academy and Katseye will probably not have that same pressure. So it'll be really interesting to see like how, the sort of, feeling of Indianness or Koreanness or Americanness and how those things will like come out in these various groups. But
I wonder if that may not also be what's most difficult for them because they don't have an obvious identity to prove. So like maybe they'll be in the search of trying to find what their voice or their aesthetic or their idea and identity is because they're from everywhere, but they're not they're not just American, they're not just for one place.
They're doing the global thing, like unlike A2K with Bichao, which is that they were focusing on American idols and creating an American K-pop group. This is following in the tradition of what we're seeing with Blackswan, which is a multicultural, global, ethnically diverse group, and trying to target it to no particular region, just I think the entire world. And I wouldn't be surprised if they eschew like trying to promote them as like, oh, I'm Indian or I'm American or anything like that. And it's just like their ethnicity is just like who they are, but they just create a group that more resembles like New Jeans, where there is no effort to try to make that distinction about them.
Do you want to see a quick clip
Sure.
that features?
Yeah.
Well, can I work it out? Yeah, I've been thinking. We might just need to dance. Yeah. I've been thinking.
Well, I have to take a quick pause, guys, because I want to ask our viewers out there that if you like our videos and you enjoy what we're doing here, please feel free to like, subscribe, and share our videos, because it helps us make more videos like this. And we are still working to develop our channel, and your support helps us so much. And we really appreciate all you viewers out there that watch our videos. And, don't forget to like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. So anyway, to kind of wrap things up with this show, guys, let's just talk a bit more about where we think the future of K-pop is going with Indian idols and why this is happening, and final thoughts on the trajectory of this. And anybody can speak, whoever has something they want to say.
Well, I'm really curious. I mean, this is actually the direction I'm going in with my research as well. I'm very curious
cool.
about the India-Korea connection, and there's lots of, historical things that are coming up. Also, the sort of myth about Princess Ho, or Princess Suriratna, as she's called in India, and like her marrying a Korean king. And so there's all of this sort of cultural storytelling that's developing around the Korean wave in India. And so I'm really curious to see how many idols are going to appear, where they'll go, where they'll come from. I mean, I was just looking at which regions they come from, and they're really from everywhere. And so I think you can really see that the popularity is kind of spread, and I think it's only going to increase. So
what is this
you
Korean king
notice-
thing?
Oh, yeah. I want to know more about that.
Real quick, tell us what that, because this is the first I'm hearing of this. Is this
Oh,
something happening
really?
now?
Yes. So basically there's this...
I didn't know Korea has a king right now. Does Korea have a king?
Oh, well, not right now. It's something that's being proliferated right now again. But I think it's...
You mean that he descended from royalty? Is that what they really mean?
Yeah, there's a myth that a Korean king married an Indian princess, I think in the 13th century. And
This happened a long time ago. This is not happening right
sorry,
now.
No, this is not happening now. My mistake for it.
Oh, there's a myth.
Indicating, can you imagine if there was a Korean king now?
I know. I was like...
It's sort of like a Silk Road, sort of, I don't know, history. Maybe it's after Silk Road, but...
But actually, historians in Korea have proven that it's not historically accurate. But I think it's kind of proliferated beyond that, and both governments are into it now, and they've built a shrine to her in India, where Koreans visit regularly, and it's just growing. So it's super interesting.
That is interesting. Have you noticed there being a palpable increase of interest in K-pop in India? I mean, that's my sense, but I haven't researched it.
I haven't researched it either, so I'm just going to answer it based on my feeling just from the discussions I've had with people back home. But I think, because I go home once a year, and so there's a pretty big gap between each trip. And over the last few years, there's been a sort of exponential increase of mostly women who have just binged Korean TV shows, and they're really well dubbed in Hindi, or on YouTube there's like shortened versions which are just explained in Hindi. And it's led to this sort of, love of Korean culture, because I think it came through a TV series, but then K-pop, and then Sriya, and then Blackswan, and then it sort of, rolled from there. And I'm really excited to see where it's going to go.
Donna, this warms your heart to hear that you're not the only one who loves K-dramas in the world.
Oh, well, yeah, of course I'm not the only one.
Oh my God, Donna, like in our private conversations, it's about which show that's making her bawl her eyes out. I mean, she has actually, I was not a fan of K-dramas, but thanks to Donna, I've watched Crash Landing on You and Extraordinary Attorney Woo. I don't know if you watch those shows.
Of course I have.
Shows.
Of course I have.
Any final words, Paroma?
Well, just one final thing, I guess. I'm also curious to see what happens within India with the rise of K-pop and how it's going to blend into our music. Very diverse music scenes and also film scene. Like, let's see how it goes.
It's time for us to say goodbye to our viewers. Thank you all for tuning in. We really enjoyed having you with us, and it was really great having you with us too, Paroma.
Yes,
Can't
thank
tell
you
you
so
how
much
much we
for having
appreciate
me.
you coming and being on our show.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care, everybody.